Today we're talking about defeating the demon of comparisons. And I was thinking about this with the Lord this morning. It's like all of us, especially all women, struggle with comparisons starting at the age of about 2. At age 2, we notice if someone else got a bigger chocolate chip cookie than we did. We notice that at age 2. At age 5, we notice if other girls in the kindergarten class seem to have more friends playing with them than we do. At age 8, we are already noticing if our tummy is not as flat as the girl sitting next to us. We already notice that for sure by age 8, maybe by age 2. At age 10, we notice if we're not wearing the coolest in-style clothing. At age 12, we wonder why we are plagued by tons of pimples when the girl sitting over there has none. That is not fair. At age 14, we wonder if we'll ever be as popular as the other girls. At age 16, we notice that the high school football studs are not flocking to us, but they are flocking to the other girls. At age 21, we wonder why some of our girlfriends are getting engaged when we can barely even get a date. At age 25, we notice that some of our high school friends now have exciting careers, but we just have that job. At age 30, we wonder why women seem to have happy marriages, at least as seen on Facebook, but we don't. At age 35, we notice that other moms seem to create endless fun adventures with their kids, while we are barely able to muster the energy to even say hello to our kids, much less play with them. At age 40, we notice that other women grow all their own vegetables, get eggs from their own chickens, homeschool their kids, probably milk their own cow in their backyard too, while we feel triumphant if we just have time to pick up a pizza on the way home from work, right? At age 45, some of you aren't there yet, at age 45 we notice other moms have their kids graduating with honors while our kid is just barely going to squeak by, we hope. At age 50, we notice that other women don't have nearly as many wrinkles as we do. What's up with that? At age 65, I'm not there yet. Praise the Lord. At age 65, we notice that some women are enjoying retirement by taking endless, lavish vacations, and we have to be satisfied with a long weekend at a B&B in Cedar Woolley. At age 75, because we're still moving along here, at age 75, we notice that other women seem to get an early upgrade to perfection in heaven, while we are still dealing down here with gray hair, liver spots. Some of you don't even know what those are yet. Liver spots, arthritis, and the list goes on and on. The comparisons never end, right? And the devil loves it, because every time that we compare ourselves with other women, some bad things happen. And just jot down on your paper if some of these resonate with you. As the result of comparisons, we become bitter. Have you ever noticed that you become bitter when you're doing all the comparisons? You might become depressed. You might become an ineffective follower of Jesus Christ. Not a very great reflection of him. Well, tonight we're going to combat the demon of comparisons. God showed me I really didn't even know where to start with this lesson, honestly. And so yesterday I started on it and okay, Lord, I don't even know where to begin on this whole thing of comparisons. It's like a big deal for most women, and probably for most men, maybe different areas that they compare themselves. But it's like, how do we grapple with this thing? And what is the root cause of this anyway? And I felt like God showed me 2 primary reasons that we neurotically compare ourselves to other women. And as I did my research, I found out that both of these reasons are the reasons that Satan got kicked out of heaven. The first one is envy. We want what we think other women have instead of being content with what we do have. Does that sound familiar to anyone? We envy what we think other women have. James 3, starting at verse 14. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. Oh, that kind of slapped me in the face when I read that. Okay then, right, probably don't want to be doing anything demonic. I'm just saying that's probably not a good path, right? And then the other root cause, pride. We want to impress people and be admired by others. So we are in continual competition mode. It's like a continual competition. And in this competition, we're assessing whether we're better than others or not. Are we better than others or not? Are we better or not? And it's like constant competition mode. Isaiah 14 is a scripture talking about Satan and what his pride did to him. How are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How are you cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations? For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the cloud. I will be like the Most High. A little prideful. And he was cast to the ground, cast under the ground. He was tossed out of heaven. I learned in my little short study about comparisons that both pride and envy are demonic. They are demonic, and that's kind of, like I said, that sort of slapped me beside the head. I'm like, I don't like to think about it that way, Lord, but they are. Satan is trying to entice us to follow his ways. He's trying to get us to follow the same path that he takes with pride and envy. And we don't want to do that, do we? Because it doesn't ever end well. Mark 7, for from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person. And I think we all know that envy and pride really do defile us. When we neurotically compare ourselves to others, again, just jot down if any of these things, relate to you. We become resentful. Have you ever found yourself becoming super resentful because you don't have what someone else seems to have? We grow bitter. We grow frustrated. We grow depressed. Poor me. We grow ungrateful. And actually, many times we turn a little bit mean. We tend to point other people's faults out, being really hypercritical of other people, put them down a lot because it makes us feel better about us. And so we become kind of mean girls. It's kind of ugly, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
So can we agree we want to break free from both pride and envy, which are the root of this comparison thing? So how do we break free from pride? I'm not going to this is not a long lesson by any means because we have our fun activity at the end. But I wanted to give you some thoughts that came to mind as I was processing this with the Lord. First one is we have to stop trying to impress people with your brains, your beauty, your talent, and determine to be more focused on blessing people instead. What if we were to change our focus? Instead of trying to impress people, we try to bless people. Instead of trying to impress people, we try to bless people. Instead of trying to impress people, we try to bless people. What if we just flip the script on Satan? He's thinking he's got us enticed to go down his path of pride and envy, and we're like, actually, no, I'm going to flip the script on you. I'm going to flip the narrative. I'm going to not focus on impressing people. I'm going to focus on how I can bless people. And this is the essence of Philippians 2, 3, and 4. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. This could be huge just right there. Every time you get that desire, that temptation to impress people, you say, I'm going to flip the script right now on the enemy, and I'm going to work to bless people instead. Next, refuse to post pictures or tell others about your accomplishments, your amazing deeds. It's really hard not to tell people about how wonderful you are. Have you ever noticed that? We do it very subtly, very, very subtly, but we love to let people know, whether it's through pictures or just telling them about how wonderful we are. But what if we were to refuse to go down that path? Because this would demonstrate humility, the opposite of pride. If you didn't tell people about the wonderful things you did. It's very subtle. Like, for instance, you've decided to fast. And you just can't help but let that slip out in the conversation. Because, look at me, I'm fasting. And so it just slips out like, oh no, I can't join you for lunch today because I'm fasting. I'm pretty holy over here, right? I mean, we just, it's very subtle how we just kind of creep it in there, right? Or, we're chatting with people after church and you're like, oh yeah, Susie, her husband got laid off of work and yeah, I felt like God called me to drop off groceries anonymously, and so I did. There went the anonymously part, right? Because we just have to tell other people about what we've done. It's just like this pride thing, right? I need to tell people about how wonderful I am. I just got promoted at work. I just have to slip that into the conversation somehow. If my kid just got straight A's, I have to slip that into the conversation somehow. Like, me because my kid got straight A's. But has anyone ever fallen into this trap where we just have to tell people? Yes. I had to include the part about posting pictures too because selfies. Everyone's quiet like they're like, don't tell me to stop taking selfies, I might die. But maybe take less than 1,000 a day. That's all I'm saying. Because, and I'm not kidding you, we were in line, this is like 2 years ago, we were at the Disney World and they had this Animal Kingdom thing, this Avatar exhibit. I remember this so clearly. We were in the long line, like the 2-hour line to see the Avatar exhibit at Animal Kingdom at Disney World there. For like 2 hours, we're behind this girl who was probably like 20 in the line. She's there with her boyfriend. Literally, this is no joke. My husband will verify this if you don't believe me, because I'm not exaggerating. She probably took at least 200 selfies in that line. Not even of her boyfriend, just her. It wasn't her boyfriend, it was just her. Now I'm posing here, now I'm posing here, now I'm posing here. Oh, well, let me put some more lipstick on. Now I'm posing here. It was like, oh my gosh. So maybe fewer posties, I just said. Post fewer selfies. What are those words? Yeah. Anyway, next point. Pray for God to give you a humble heart and to give you the strength to choose humility each day. And God would love to answer that prayer. We know God would love to answer that prayer. Would you be willing to pray that prayer? God, give me a humble heart today and help me to choose to put on humility this day. Reminded me of 1 Peter 5. Clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility toward one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Okay, let's talk about breaking free from envy. This one I could talk about for years, I feel like, because I have, in my advanced years on this earth, realized that the women that I've envied over the years, they don't have a perfect life, even if it seems like it. So you need to realize that the women you are envying, they don't have a perfect life, even if it seems like it. The grass is rarely greener on the other side, in someone else's yard. There is a lot of manure over there too. In fact, the places that are really green, that's because they had a lot of manure there for a while, right? I could go on and on with so many stories of women that I was envious of, and later I found out, their challenge was different than mine, but they had challenges too. I distinctly remember this one friend of mine. She was, our kids were kind of the same age, and so we did things as families together, and I was secretly envious of her because she was perfect. She was one of those perfect women. You probably know who I'm talking about. She was a perfect woman. She was a stay-at-home mom. Her house was immaculate. She, did everything just right, exactly right with her kids, and so they were like little brainiacs. And her husband was a deacon in the church, and they were just, and she talked really surly, sweet, everything about her was just like, some enchanted fairy tale. And I was kind of secretly envious of her. Until 10 years later, she calls me in desperation and lets me know something she'd never told anyone, that she was being physically abused. Had no idea. In fact, it got so bad, her husband actually shot a gun into the house where he thought she was sitting. He was outside the house and shot the gun into the house, hoping to, obviously kill her, because he thought she was sitting there. Luckily, she was not. That's how bad that was. And I was envious of what I thought she had. Now, did she have some things going for her? She really did. Things that were different from me. But then she had challenges that were different from me, right? I think of another couple. They used to be our next door neighbors. They took early retirement because they had these fabulous jobs and they got to take early retirement. And I tell you, I see their Facebook posts all the time. One of these times I'm going to have to stop following them because I can just start to feel the envy come up. Because they take vacation after vacation after vacation. They're in Israel. They're in Switzerland. They're, on Mount Rushmore. They're just everywhere. And I'm like, every week I feel like they're on vacation. Like, well, that would be nice. But guess what? That wife confided in me that her adult son has been diagnosed with a pretty severe mental illness. And it's disabling. He's probably going to end up being divorced by his wife, and their whole family is falling apart, and they are grief-stricken. And it's like, okay, yeah, this part of their life might seem good, but they have different challenges than I have. You see where I'm going with this? We always tend to envy, and then if we look past the surface, They have things going on. They're just different challenges than us. I think of another friend of mine who I was friends with her for so very long, but we kind of lost touch, but her kids were always doing everything just right. Not that my children weren't. But anyway, her kids were doing everything just right all the time. And it was really bothering me because, well, I were always doing everything just right. Anyway, the hazards of being the daughter. Anyway, and it was really bothersome. And I was, kind of get a little jealous sometimes. Like, how come her kids are doing everything right all the time? I wish mine is, am I a bad mom? And come to find out that she has just horrible physical health problems that are just debilitating. I mean, she has migraine after migraine after migraine and basically can't hardly leave the house half the time. And this has been going on for years. Okay, the person I was envying, yes, in that particular area, maybe there was something that I would have liked, but she had other challenges that were horrible that I would never want. Do you see where we're going with this? Same thing for the woman that you've been thinking of. Another remedy for envy is to practice gratitude daily. To practice gratitude daily. Discipline yourself to spend a few moments with God every day, just thanking Him for the blessings that you do have. Because you do have blessings. That someone in this room would just die to have that particular blessing that you have. They would love to have that. So appreciate what you do have. This is Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Think about those things. Next, train yourself to be happy for the blessings others enjoy, knowing that they also have challenges in other areas of their life that you might never see. So train yourself to just rejoice for the blessings that they do have. And then finally, have a sense of humor. Have a sense of humor about the areas in which you are less than perfect. Stop taking yourself so seriously. If you have a pimple on your nose the size of Mount Rushmore, you can try to conceal it, which is not going to work. Or you can just laugh about it and just go like, look at this pimple the size of Mount Rushmore on my nose. Isn't it hilarious? And like, which is going to be better, right? Have a sense of humor. Don't take yourself so seriously, right? So, I thought we'd do a little experiment today about not taking ourselves so seriously. So I would like to ask you, for the brave women in this room, if you are willing to try an experiment tonight in not taking yourself so seriously, not being so concerned about what other people think about you, would you stand to your feet? Only if you're willing to take the challenge, to do the experiment. This is not going to kill you. This is not going to kill you. This is just if you're willing to try this little experiment. If you don't want to, you don't have to. This is not, we're not forcing you to. Now we're going to look down on you. No, I'm just kidding. No. Okay, now I would like to go one step further. I would like you to take a step forward to the stage here. If you feel like you want to take this to the extreme level, and you don't mind being videotaped, doing this.
You have to bend your knees. Okay, then we're going to go into the paw. And a third step. Birds. And the palm trees. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, and paw. And the birds. And the palm trees. 1, 2, 3, and paw. And now I'm going to finish it for you. Okay. The mountain is so high. And now the